Just imagine for a moment there's a plant that simply prevents viruses from entering your cells. And all of this without any side effects, completely without chemicals. It sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? Then get to know the cistus, one of the most fascinating medicinal plants in Europe for me, which excites both science and natural medicine alike. So what exactly makes this cistus so special? The cistus, botanically known as Cistus incarnus, grows in the Mediterranean region, looking rather inconspicuous, almost like a small shrub with delicate pink, but also white flowers. But its leaves contain a real powerhouse, namely the secondary plant compounds, especially the polyphenols with extraordinary effects. And now comes the fascinating part. These polyphenols act like chewing gum for viruses. They attach themselves to the surface of the virus and block the docking sites. And as a result, these viruses can no longer bind to our mucous membranes and basically stick to the cistus. So the virus can't even enter our cells in the first place. And that's exactly what the Fraunhofer Institute in Leipzig has proven. It was shown in cell cultures that cistus extracts stop viruses right at the entry point. And that's not esotericism, but clear laboratory science. What do other studies show us? In laboratory experiments, so in vitro as it's called. Here it was observed that cistus extract blocks various viruses, namely influenza viruses, herpes simplex viruses, and also other groups of viruses. In animal models, infections were much milder and shorter, the viral load decreased measurably, and in initial clinical observations in humans it was shown. People who take cistus extract, by the way, are sick less often and their infections are shorter. Now, I just have to tell you something. A few weeks ago, I was actually sick. I had a flu-like infection, which usually lasts about 9 days. I drank this tea 3 large cups a day. And do you want to know something? The duration of this illness, which usually lasts so long for me, was simply cut in half. Then I thought something is really strange and I expected something else to happen, but nothing else happened. After 5 days, I was completely healthy again, despite having a severe flu infection, and I believe it had something to do with this cistus. I always find it exciting when you can notice it in yourself. And I've also noticed with patients who have taken it that infections progressed much more quickly. Tell me, have you ever heard of rock rose or have you ever used it? I would really love to know, so please write it down in the comments below. Many people also report that since they started regularly drinking rock rose tea, they are less susceptible to infections and can ward off colds much faster. But that's not all, and now it gets really exciting. There are also initial laboratory findings and animal studies for bacterial and fungal infections. So rock rose seems to have not only antiviral but also antibacterial and antifungal effects. So far, there is still a lack of really solid human data, meaning clinical studies on people, but in my opinion, the results so far are very promising. And that's why, although there is no definite recommendation, you can use it very well as a supportive measure, especially because it practically has no side effects. And that's still not all. There are also indications that cistus may be effective against multi-resistant germs, meaning those bacteria for which even antibiotics no longer work. And in this case, inhibitory effects have actually been shown. If this is ultimately confirmed, it would truly be a medical breakthrough. And how do you use this cistus now? I think the best way is at least as a tea or as a standardized extract. If you feel the first signs of an infection, sore throat, that typical scratchiness, or a rising temperature, then drink 2 to 3 cups of cistus tea per day, warm and spread out over several days, of course. Many people also use cistus externally, for example, when they feel the onset of cold sores on their lips. Simply dab some cool tea or diluted extract onto the affected area with a cotton swab as soon as the tingling begins. This has not yet been scientifically proven, but numerous personal accounts speak for themselves. And honestly, if we wait until every plant is researched down to the last molecule, we'll probably be waiting another 30 years. So cistus and the immune system actually work together. Cistus not only acts directly against pathogens, but also additionally strengthens our immune system. The polyphenols neutralize free radicals, reduce silent inflammation, and stabilize the mucous membranes, our natural protective barrier against viruses, bacteria, and fungi. And the result is that infections occur less frequently, are milder, and also shorter. And that's exactly what initial clinical studies show as well. Cistus can reduce the frequency and severity of respiratory infections. To sum up, is cistus a miracle cure? No, there are no miracle cures, but it's pretty amazing what can happen. For me, it's one of the most impressive medicinal plants in Europe. Apparently, it can block viruses, strengthen the immune system, and possibly even help with bacteria, fungi, and multi-resistant germs. All that and no side effects. And the next time you feel a cold coming on, go ahead and treat yourself to a few cups of cistus tea. Maybe you'll notice for yourself how powerful nature can be, and that healing often grows where we least expect it. By the way, which medicinal plant is your healing plant? Maybe I don't even know it yet, and I'd really be interested. Just write it down in the comments below.